Okay guys, let's end this. Okay, so मैंने रिफ्रेश मतलब रिफ्रेश ही बोलते हैं क्या कर दिया था आंसर. सो द आंसर इज चेंज्ड बट इट्स द सेम प्रॉम्प्ट. These are philosophy of economics questions. You are not just studying for an exam anymore, you are actually thinking. Okay, so why so many tools? Can't RBI do it alone? Let me use an analogy. Imagine the economy is a human body, inflation is fever, low growth is weakness, unemployment is injury. Can one doctor with one medicine fix everything? No, you need fever medicine for fever, protein diet for weakness, physiotherapy for injury. Different problems need different treatments. Why RBI alone can't do it? RBI controls money supply, that's it. But economy has problems RBI's tools simply cannot reach. For example, problems, let's see, onion prices spike. RBI can't grow onions or fix cold shortage. Unemployment in villages. RBI can't create rural jobs by raising rates. Poor roads, slow economy. RBI can't build highways, farmers need cheap loans. RBI can nudge but can't force banks enough. Poverty and inequality, no interest rates fixes this. RBI's tools only work through one channel, borrowing cost. But economy has thousands of channels: agriculture, infrastructure, employment, trade, welfare. Government reaches all these channels through spending and taxation. Real example: COVID 2020. RBI cut rates to zero, to like near zero. But would you take a loan and open a restaurant during lockdown? No, because the problem wasn't expensive loans. It was fear, uncertainty, closed businesses. Government had to step in. Free food to 80 crore people. Cash transfers to poor. Free vaccines. Support to hospitals. RBI can make money cheap but can't make money can be cheap and money can be expensive. This idea is like interesting and I'm having a hard time digesting it. So RBI can make money cheap but can't make people confident, healthy, or employed. That's government's problem. That's government's job. Both are necessary, neither is sufficient alone. The simple truth: economy is like cricket team. RBI is the best bowler, controls inflation brilliantly, and government is the batsman, drives growth and welfare. You need both to win the match. One brilliant bowler alone can't win a test match. I still don't see how they interrelate. Anyways, how does stagflation even happen? First, your intuition is correct. Normally, growth and inflation do move together. Economy grows fast, people have jobs, earn money, people spend more, demand rises, prices rise, inflation, demand rises. Um if supply don't keep up, then prices rises, and that leads to inflation. So normally high growth, high inflation if supply can't keep up, right? And low growth is low inflation, by like similar logic which I don't want to think right now. RBI handles both easily with one tool, repo rate. So how does stagflation break this pattern? The key is, where does the problem come from? Normal inflation comes from demand side, people spending too much. Stagflation comes from supply side, like production getting destroyed. Let me show you with a super simple example. The wheat village story. Imagine a small village with 100 farmers growing wheat. Normal happy economy, 100 farmers grow wheat, 100 families buy wheat, everyone has work, prices are stable. Now a drought hits. Wheat crops destroyed. Only 40 farmers can grow, but 100 families still need to eat. Less wheat available, wheat prices shoot up, inflation. But 60 farmers lost their crops, lost income, can't spend on other things. ओके, सो इन्फ्लेशन मतलब महंगाई बढ़ गई है, बट नॉट बिकॉज लोग ज़्यादा खर्च कर रहे हैं, बट बिकॉज उसकी शॉर्टेज हो गई है, जो मतलब रिसोर्सेज या जो वो ख़रीदना चाह रहे हैं उन प्रोडक्ट्स की शॉर्टेज हो गई है, इसलिए उनका प्राइस बढ़ गया है। एंड ऑल्सो कुछ लोगों के पास मनी नहीं है to pay for it. 60 farmers lost their crops, lost income, can't spend on other things. Shops selling clothes, tools, everything are see less customers. हाँ, क्योंकि जो चीज़ मतलब जो महंगा हो गया अभी, तो उधर ज़्यादा पैसे जाएंगे तो बाकी जगह पे कम होंगे ही। सो इकोनॉमी श्रिंक्स, लो ग्रोथ और रिसेशन, हाई इन्फ्लेशन और लो ग्रोथ, स्टैगफ्लेशन। ओके, वट वॉज इट? एक मिनट। हाई ग्रोथ हाई इन्फ्लेशन मैंने पूछा था, वो दूसरे वाला तो मुझे समझ आ गया था। हाई ग्रोथ हाई इन्फ्लेशन, हाई ग्रोथ हाई इन्फ्लेशन, सप्लाई व्हेन सप्लाई कांट कीप अप। और ये लो ग्रोथ लो इन्फ्लेशन मैंने सोचा नहीं है। स्टैगफ्लेशन तो पर दूसरा वाला था ना, ये भी स्टैगफ्लेशन है। अजीब, या वो कुछ और था। खैर, वाई कांट RBI फिक्स इट? RBI raises rates to fight inflation. People borrow less, spend less, but farmers already can't grow wheat. Less spending just makes recession worse. Wheat shortage still exists, prices still high. Um, So RBI cuts rate to fight recession, cheaper loans, people spend more, but more spending on scarce wheat, prices rise more, inflation gets worse. Oh. So RBI is helpless because the problem is supply destruction, not demand. No interest rate can make it rain or grow wheat faster. So वो जो high inflation और high growth, उसका क्या scene है? I want more on that, but maybe not now. Real world stagflation example. So 1970s की oil crisis, when Arab countries stopped selling oil to USA and Europe, oil supply destroyed, oil prices quadrupled, everything using oil like transport, factories, food became expensive. So inflation came, but factories couldn't run without cheap oil, so it shut down, unemployment rose, low growth. Results stagflation for entire decade. अभी ईरान वॉर भी चल रहा है, होप छोड़ो. So COVID 2020, factories shut, supply chain broke, goods become scarce, so inflation happens. So now people also lost jobs, businesses closed, economy contracted, so it was also low growth. So classic स्टैगफ्लेशन. मतलब ये न्यूज़ में काफ़ी आता था कि इकॉनमी के लिए अच्छा नहीं है, दिस कोविड इज़ गोइंग टू हिट इकॉनमी, तब समझ नहीं आता था. नाउ आई कैन सी इट अ लिटिल बिट बेटर. एंड इंडियाज़ अनियन क्राइसिस, ये होती रहती है क्या? आई रिमेंबर एक दो बार तो, बट आई डोंट नो मतलब ये हर होती रहती है. इज़ इट लाइक सीजनल थिंग? Bad monsoon destroys onion crops. Onion prices go from 20 to 200 kg inflation, but rest of economy slows because farmers have no income. No low growth, drag. Mini stagflation in agriculture sector. Master picture. Demand side problem RBI can fix. People spending too much, raise rates, cool demand. Supply side problem RBI cannot fix. Production destroyed, no interest rate, grows crops or makes oil. Government must fix subsidies, imports, infrastructure. So both problems simultaneously. Stagflation, RBI and government both struggles. RBI and government both struggles. No clean solution exists. The deep insight for phase 2 essay. This is the most important thing you have learned so far. Monetary policy, RBI, works on demand side of the economy. Fiscal policy works on both sides, but neither can fix supply destruction alone. That's why economics Nobel Prize winner Paul Samuelson called economics the art of making the best of a bad situation. Nice. When stagflation hits, there is no perfect answer. Policymakers choose the lesser evil based on which problem is more dangerous at that moment. Writing this understanding is phase 2 essay is stock marks. Hmm. So, how do they solve the situation of low growth and low inflation, and also high growth and high inflation at the same time? Can you show me when this can happen and how this would be solved? I'm sorry for my English, it's not that great. Okay, so let's go through both. Situation 1, high growth plus high inflation. When does this happen? Economy is booming. Everyone has jobs. Everyone earns well. Everyone spends heavily. Factories running at full capacity. Demand growing faster than supply can handle. Prices rise, inflation happens. Real example, India 2010 to 2011. Post 2008 crisis, India recovered fast. Growth was 8 to 9%, but inflation hit 10%. Everyone had money, everyone was spending, prices shot up everywhere. So, high growth, high inflation. How do they solve it? Both RBI and government work together to cool demand. RBI raises repo rate, loans become expensive, people borrow less, companies invest less, and spending cools down. Inflation falls. Government does cuts its own spending, less money pumped into economy, demand cools further, inflation falls. Both pulling in same direction, powerful effect. This is the policy coordination favorite phase 2 topic, but there's a catch. Cooling inflation also slightly slows growth, so RBI and government must be careful. Cool it just enough, don't kill the boom. This careful balance is equals soft landing, slowing inflation without crashing growth. Every central bank's dream. So is this thing difficult? Okay, so situation 2 is low growth plus low inflation. When does this happen? So economy is sluggish, people cautious, spending less, companies not investing, fewer jobs, less demand, prices stable or falling, nobody is borrowing or spending, economy stuck in slow gear. So low inflation and low growth. Okay. So prices are falling because nobody is buying stuff. A real example, Japan 1990s to 2010s. After property bubble burst, Japan had near zero growth and near zero inflation for 2 decades. People kept waiting for prices to fall more before buying. Nobody spent. Economy froze. India 2019 to 2020, before COVID even hit, India's growth was slowing to 4 to 5%. Inflation was low. Private companies stopped investing. Jobs were scarce. Economy was losing momentum. How do they solve it? Both RBI and government work together to boost demand. RBI does, like RBI cuts repo rate, so loan become cheap, people borrow more, buy houses, cars, start businesses, spending rises, growth picks up. Government spends more on highways, railways, schools, construction, jobs created, workers earn and spend. Fiscal multiplier kicks in, GDP grows. This combination equals expansionary policy from both sides, like jump starting a dead car battery with two cables instead of one. The complete picture. The complete picture is high growth, high inflation, आरबीआई ये तो हो गया है सो ओके stagflation is basically stuck. What government does is fix supply side and goal is lesser evil choice. RBI is stuck on stagflation and perfect economy. RBI maintains 4%. Government does balanced budget and goal is to keep it stable. I hope we stay here. Um, But what about low growth plus low inflation? Can it become dangerous? Yes, this can spiral into something terrifying. Prices falling slightly. People think prices will fall more tomorrow. I'll wait. Everyone delays buying. Companies sell nothing. Companies fire workers. Workers earn nothing. Spend nothing. Prices fall more. Everyone waits more. Economy collapses completely. This spiral is deflation trap. Remember day 4. Japan fell into this. Took 30 years to partially escape. This is why RBI targets 4% inflation, not 0%. Mild inflation keeps economy moving forward. The deepest insight. All of the economics is essentially about one problem, keeping demand and supply balanced. All of economics is essentially about one problem, keeping demand and supply balanced. Too much demand, inflation. Too little demand, recession. Supply destroyed, stagflation. Demand and supply balanced is healthy economy. What if we have excess supply? Anyways, so RBI and government are just two different people trying to maintain that balance, one through money and one through spending. You have now understood the entire framework of economics that takes college students 2 semesters to learn. Actually, and you've done it not actually in 7 days, 30 minutes, with 30 minutes a day nap. Uh, I forgot कि स्टैगफ्लेशन कैसे कंट्रोल की थी को. Let's ask. Okay. And how do the government and RBI together handle stagflation when high growth and low inflation or low growth and high inflation? High growth, low inflation. When does this happen? So, high growth, low inflation. Economy growing fast. Jobs available, income rises, but prices staying stable or low. Supply keeping up with demand perfectly. This is good. Nay, nay. The high growth, low inflation, isn't it good? Real example: USA in 1990s. Bill Clinton. I want to cuss era. Internet boom. Okay, economy grew 4%. Sorry, 4% plus every year. Inflation stayed below 3%, called the Goldilocks economy. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. India's dream scenario, growing at 8% with 4% inflation. Wow. Exactly what policymakers target. Okay, so high growth and low inflation is what policymakers target. How do RBI and government do? Honestly, as little as possible. Golden rule of economics is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Economy doing well, don't interfere unnecessarily. RBI does keeps repo rate stable monitors carefully for any inflation signs, maintains adequate liquidity. Government maintains fiscal discipline, continues capex spending on infrastructure, doesn't do anything dramatic. This careful, watchful non-interference is neutral policy stance. RBI actually uses this exact term, neutral stance, in its monetary policy statements. Means we are watching, not acting yet. The only risk here, high growth plus low inflation, sounds perfect, but it can secretly be building a bubble. For example, high growth and low inflation. Easy money plus high growth. People start investing in stocks, real estate heavily. Asset prices shoot up unrealistically. Everyone thinks they are rich on paper. Bubble forms. One day bubble burst, sudden crash, recession. Um, okay. Real example, USA 2008. Years of high growth plus low inflation plus cheap loans led to housing bubble, led to bubble burst, and it led to global financial crisis. This is why RBI watches asset price inflation separately from CPI inflation. What is CPI inflation? Stocks and real estate booming unrealistically is a dangerous sign even if CPI is low. CPI क्या है ये? Situation, let's low growth plus high inflation. This is actually mild stagflation. Remember the stagflation definition. High inflation plus low growth equals stagflation. Low growth plus high inflation is the same thing, just different intensity. But let's separate two cases. Case A, supply shock caused it. The oil prices spike globally, everything becomes expensive. High inflation, companies' costs rise, reduce production, lay off workers. So growth slows, low growth. This is true stagflation. Supply side destroyed. RBI and government are stuck. They must choose the lesser evil. Option 1, fight inflation first. RBI raises rates, inflation cools eventually. But growth slows even further. More unemployment, people suffer short term. Option 2 is fight low growth first. Government increases spending, jobs created, growth picks up. But more money in economy, inflation gets worse. Common man's purchasing power destroyed. Which do they choose? Depends on which is more dangerous at that moment. Generally, inflation is fought first because inflation hurts poor people most. Food prices. Uncontrolled inflation can destroy entire economy. Growth can recover. Hyperinflation is harder to fix. Case B is structural problem caused it. Sometimes low growth and high inflation happens because of deep structural issues, not just oil prices. India's specific problem. For example, poor roads, goods can't reach markets efficiently, price high. Weak agriculture, food supply uncertain, food inflation chronic. Informal economy, RBI's tools don't reach 45% of workers. Corrupt supply chains, middlemen inflate prices artificially. These are interesting situations. I wonder what would be the solution to them. Here, neither RBI raising rates nor government spending fixes it. What actually fixes it? Building better roads and coal shortage, fix agricultural supply chains, formalize the economy. GST was one step. Okay, so reduce middlemen in food supply. I want to reduce middlemen everywhere. But I don't even trust like the top men, like the politicians. Who trust them, by the way? Nobody does. There is no trust. Still, our democracy is going on, and I don't understand how. Maybe just people are too lazy to like um, interrupt, get in the way. Anyways, this is structural reform, not monetary or fiscal policy. Takes years to fix, but without it, India will keep facing food inflation regardless of what RBI does. This exact point is the gold mine for phase 2 essay. The master framework, all situations together. I saw it. एक बार रिवाइज कर ही लेते हैं. सो ओके, हाई इन्फ्लेशन, महंगाई भी और ग्रोथ भी ज़्यादा है. सो बोथ आरबीआई एंड गवर्नमेंट कूल द इकोनॉमी, raise rate plus cut spending, goal is soft landing. महंगाई ज़्यादा एंड ग्रोथ ज़्यादा, तो इन्फ्लेशन पे काम हो रहा होता है, राइट. सो लो इन्फ्लेशन प्लस लो ग्रोथ, both RBI and government boost the economy, cuts rates and increases spending. Goal is to jumpstart. High inflation and low growth, stagflation. High inflation, low growth. तो जो हमें चाहिए लो इन्फ्लेशन प्लस हाई ग्रोथ, उसका उल्टा है स्लैगफ्लेशन. हाई इन्फ्लेशन, लो ग्रोथ, supply side destroyed, no clean solution, fight inflation first. Usually government fixes supply through reforms. Goal is to choose lesser evil plus structural fix. And low inflation plus high growth is Goldilocks. Do nothing, watch carefully, neutral stance, watch for asset bubbles. Goal is to maintain the balance. The single deepest insight. Here's what separates a good phase 2 answer from a great one. Monetary and fiscal policy can only manage demand. They push demand up or pull it down. But India's core problem are supply side. Food inflation from poor agriculture, energy dependence on imported oil, weak manufacturing, poor infrastructure. Until supply side is fixed through structural reforms, RBI and government will keep fighting the same battles forever. This is exactly what RBI governor says in every monetary policy statement, and this is exactly what examiners want to read in your phase 2 essay. You have just completed the macroeconomics 101 that most economics graduates struggle to connect so cleanly. Okay, so tomorrow, day 8, we would study India's economic history from independence to 1991 reform to today. This is where all these concepts come alive in real Indian stories. By the way, if I am remembering it right, day 6 पे जब मैंने पढ़ा था तो day 7 के लिए उसने इंडिया की हिस्ट्री बोला था. But then we are reading about the fiscal policy and all that. But anyways, this topic is done for today. Bye bye.